Hello and welcome. I'm Alex Armstrong and this is GBN Originals. Picture the scene. A group of children playing innocently at school. A young woman walking home, fresh-faced and full of promise. A father finishing his shift, heading home to see his family. Normal people living their lives in a country that is supposed to protect them. And yet within moments, their lives are snatched away in brutal, senseless acts of violence that were entirely preventable. The UK state is failing to protect its own people. Not because it lacks the power, not because it lacks the resources, but because it lacks the will. It lacks the courage to make tough decisions that would ultimately save lives. And what's the result? Blood on the streets. Blood on their hands. Well, let's talk about Axel Rudakubana, the Southport killer. This wasn't some unknown random threat. He was on the watch list. He had a history of violence. He was known to be obsessed with school shootings. He attacked another pupil at school. He was caught carrying a knife. He was even referred to the Prevent program, the very system set up to stop extremism before it turns deadly. But what did authorities do? Well, they dropped him from the watch list, didn't they? They let him go. And then he walked free and butchered innocent young girls in a dance class. Young children. Just let that sink in for a second. They had dreams, they had futures, they had their whole lives ahead of them. But now they're gone because the British state is too spineless to do what needs to be done. And I don't think this is an isolated case either. Just look at Nottingham. Grace O'Malley, Barnaby Webber, Ian Coates, all stabbed to death in the streets, murdered by Valdo Calocane, a man who was so obviously a danger to society, his own doctors failed 4 times to ensure he took his own medication. 4 times they had to act. 4 times they let him slip through the cracks. And because of that, people died. And what do we hear from the government? Lessons will be learned, they say. How many times have we heard that? How many more people have to die before they actually do something? Because this isn't just about 1 or 2 failures. This is systematic. This is chronic neglect. This is a police force, a justice system, and a government paralysed by cowardice. Because here's the reality. If you tweet something offensive, they'll have you arrested in hours. If you refuse to use the right pronouns, you'll be investigated, a non-crime hate incident. But if you're wielding a knife, a terror risk, a violent offender, an extremist, well, you're given another chance seemingly. You're giving another chance and another chance and another until the inevitable happens, until families are torn apart.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
The real scandal is that extremists like Rudakubana had even used search engines at school to research school shootings. The warnings were glaring. They just didn't seem to care. And let's be crystal clear. This is political. This is about a culture of leniency, a refusal to enforce the law, a system so obsessed with rehabilitation that it forgets about punishment, about protection, about common sense. These killers were known to the authorities. These murders were preventable. But in Britain today, the safety of law-abiding citizens is a mere afterthought, a bureaucratic inconvenience. The police don't want to get involved. The courts hand down pathetic sentences. The mental health services are overstretched and clearly ineffective. Well, and the government, well, what do? They offer thoughts and prayers. They lay flowers for 90 seconds, hold candlelit vigils, and they promise inquiries that, frankly, go nowhere. Where is the real accountability for those in authority? Where are the resignations? Where are the criminal charges for negligence? Because let's be honest, if a private citizen failed this catastrophically in their job, they'd be sacked. They'd never work again. But when the government fails, they just shrug. They just get their friends to hold an inquiry and move on. And sometimes those people even end up in high office. And what about the victims? What about their families? They don't get to move on. They don't get a second chance. Their lives are permanently shattered. Their futures are stolen by a system that refused to act on good intelligence. The public, frankly, are sick of the excuses. They're sick of the meaningless platitudes. They are sick of being told that were mistakes made, when those mistakes have cost innocent lives. Enough is enough. We need a complete overhaul of how we deal with violent offenders and potential extremists. No more second chances for terrorists. No more soft sentences for knife crime. No more excuses for failing mental health services that release dangerous individuals onto the streets. Because let me tell you something. If we don't act now, this is going to happen again. More families will be ripped apart. More lives will be stolen. More headlines will scream, failed by the state. Why are we constantly waiting for the next tragedy to strike? The next grieving mother to ask, why my child? Let's not be under any illusion. The next ticking time bomb is happening in our country right now. The time for talking is over. The time for action is now, or more innocent people will die. Let's keep the pressure on government to take real action and reject this culture of bureaucracy that constantly fails us. Thank you for watching. I'm Alex Armstrong, and don't forget to subscribe to GB News' YouTube channel for the latest news and updates. I'll see you again very soon.